Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to call the meeting of the Mojave Air and Spaceport Board of Directors, October 5th, 2021, to order. Would everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? Diane, would you mind reading?
Absolutely.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Diane. Roll call, and I'll do the roll call. Director Barney.
All right, here.
Director Coleman. Here. Director Deaver.
Here.
Director Morgan. Here. Director Ballantyne. Here. All board members are present. I'm looking for a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Thank you, Diane. Do I have a second?
Second by Coleman.
I have a motion by Director Barney, a second by Director Coleman. Roll call. Director Barney.
Aye.
Director Coleman.
Aye.
Director Deaver.
Aye.
Director Morgan.
Aye.
And Director Ballantyne. Aye. Next, we have community announcements. Members of the audience may make announcements regarding community events. Is there anyone out there that has any announcements? None being, next item will be the consent calendar. All items on the consent agenda are considered routine and non-controversial and will be approved by one motion unless a board member, staff, or public request to move an item into an action item. Item A will be the minutes of the regular board meeting of September 21st this year, and item B will be check register September 30th this year, $96,164.21. Can I get a motion to approve the consent calendar?
Motion approved.
I have a motion by Director Barney. I have a second by Director Deaver. Were there any questions? All right, roll call vote. Director Barney?
Aye.
Director Coleman?
Aye.
And Director Deaver?
Aye.
Director Morgan?
Aye.
And Director Ballantyne. Aye. Consent calendar is approved. Action items, and I'm going to let Scott take this.
Yeah, good afternoon, members of the board, staff. It's good to see all of you today. So when last spring, when we had the COVID outbreak, Governor Newsom issued a number of executive orders related to the proclaimed state of emergency. One of those executive orders suspended certain provisions of the Brown Act. Those provisions included providing a public space for public participation in board meetings and also having to put the remote locations from directors who were appearing via Zoom or telephonically. On September 30th, that executive order expired, and in the meantime, the legislature did an update to the Brown Act, Government Code Section 54953. And one of the updated provisions provides that if there is a proclaimed state of emergency and there's a necessity for social distancing, that the board of directors may by resolution declare that a state of emergency exists or acknowledge an existing state or local state of emergency and may proceed with teleconferencing or Zoom meetings without having to provide public space as you're currently authorized to do. And also you will not have to list the locations for where more directors are when they're participating remotely. So this is an optional resolution. The board of directors does not have to do this. It is good for 30 days. So every 30 days, if the board chooses to adopt this resolution and continue your meetings as you have been doing, then in November, we would have to revisit this issue. And of course, the ability to pass the resolution at that point in time would depend on whether or not there is a continuing state of emergency. So the resolution presented to you today recites the facts that a state of emergency is in existence, and then it authorizes the board to continue its remote board meetings until such time as the state of emergency is rescinded or 30 days have expired. What that means is, as I said before, that the board is not required to provide a location for the public to come and participate in person, and the board does not have to put the addresses for directors attending remotely. Let me just say that once the state of emergency is over and we go back to the regular public meetings and the regular provisions of the Brown Act, we will once again have to list the addresses for locations where directors are participating remotely, and those locations will have to be open to the public again. That is how it was before the state of emergency was declared, and we will revert to that once the state of emergency is over. I hope that made sense. I'm happy to answer any questions that the board may have.
All right, thank you, Scott. Are there any directors that have any questions on this?
I do.
Go ahead, Bob.
Scott, how far in advance do you have to issue the, how do you have to publish your location for your remote meeting attendance?
So it is 72 hours for a regular meeting and 24 hours for a special meeting.
Okay.
Good question, Bob. Are there any other questions? Is there anyone from the audience that has any questions on this item? And being I'm looking for a motion, I'm gonna make a recommendation just myself to adopt the resolution. Someone like to make a motion?
Move to approve. Second by Coleman.
All right, I have a motion by Director Deaver, a second by Director Coleman, and I'll do a roll call vote. Director Barney?
Aye.
Director Coleman?
Aye.
Director Deaver?
Aye.
Director Morgan?
Aye.
And Director Ballantyne? Aye. And that resolution is adopted. Thank you, Scott.
Thank you, members of the board.
Next, we have financial reports. I believe, Carrie, you're there?
Yep, online. Everyone can hear me?
Yep, we can hear you good. Go ahead.
All right. Good afternoon. These are the financial reports for ending August 31st. The bank balance did decrease by $3.1 million from last month. That was due to the, there was an outstanding check for Granite for $2.8 million that has cleared the bank. And we put in for our reimbursements through the FAA, so all of that is being processed through. Fuel sales, they sold 51,000 gallons in the month of August. No new tenants on the over 90 days. And the gym has 553 members as of August 31st. We did receive our draft financials for last year, so we should be wrapping those up, and those will be coming to the board probably in the next month. And Brown Armstrong, they'll come and do a presentation on the audit.
All right, thank you. Is there any questions from any board members on that? Does the audience have any questions regarding the financial report? All right, none being, we'll move to security reports, Chris. And if you could turn on the mic, I don't know if it's on up there.
All right, good afternoon, members of the board. The security update is for the period August 26th through September 25th. During that time, we conducted a total of 4,561 checks to include 1,200 general aviation hangar checks, 2,654 building checks, and 707 gate checks. Responded to 26 building alarms, found and secured 37 unlocked or unsecured doors, patrolled a total of 4,556 miles, granted 64 access cards, and we had one request for law enforcement on August 27th involving trespassing and intoxication on the property where the individual was arrested and booked here at the local county jail. Any questions from the board?
Just your thoughts on 37 unlocked doors. People just forget, or the wind or something?
People tend to forget as they're walking out the door, thinking maybe that there's still somebody else in the building behind them. and find out later on it's not the case. Some of them are repeat offenders. Some of them are our own doors. So
All right.
it's pretty broad spectrum.
No, I think that's a
On the doors.
valuable service if there's that many. All right. Any other
Question from Coleman.
Yes.
Where did you find the intoxicated person?
So it was originally reported to us by one of our tenants here on the property, and they had shooed the two individuals away. They notified us because they entered another security yard where they were found later on by our security, and the sheriff's department was notified after we asked the person to leave, and they refused to. The sheriff's department came out and booked them on the trespassing and public intoxication.
Can you say that location?
Is on the southern end of Roper,
Okay.
down by the old water tank.
Okay, got it.
I think it should also be noted that the one individual is apprehended also had an outstanding warrant.
That is my understanding. It has not been confirmed, but that is my understanding.
Yeah.
Good job. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
All right. We now have the due report.
Your report, okay. Mr. Chair, members of the board, I'd like to first, before I give my report, recognize Chris Vandorf. Chris Vandorf is kind of the eyes and ears of this institution, does a great job, puts himself way above the call of duty, and 24/7 is your level of service. You call me after hours, which is great. You take initiative, and you put in a lot of long hours. So with that, I'd like to present you a $2,500. Wait, that's $25 gift certificate to Amazon cards. But anyway, I'd like to recognize Chris Spandor for his efforts.
Well deserved, Chris.
All right. So my report, Mr. Linder is going to discuss the EAR race discussion. So to avoid redundancy, I won't cover that. Last week we had 2 weeks ago, we had a very nice visit from the United States Space Force. This is the third class to graduate, and we're starting recurring. We're going to maintain recurring tours of these aspiring students. Very, very able-bodied people, very smart, intelligent, youthful. We were able to essentially provide tours to some of our key stakeholders and let them know what goes on here at the spaceport and also with this side of civilian space. So that was a very successful visit. We host lunch here and acknowledge their presence and abilities and appreciation too with that. Chris provided a security update there. ATC update, we do have a new candidate in the wings for as a new air traffic controller. He comes very experienced. He's got about 30 years in air traffic controlling with TRACON, with towers, with ground, clearance delivery, you name it. And not only will be a good asset to the organization, but I think we could probably also provide some other best practices from his experiences working around other various parts of the United States and military too. Planning update, I believe Chuck Mccormick later will discuss that with Rafa, so I won't cover that. And then I'm going to turn it over to the maintenance update with Floyd Van Way. So Floyd, take it away, please.
Afternoon. Just some facilities items that we've been working on the last few weeks since our last meeting. Maintenance department would like to welcome Miss Adriana Huerta, our new employee that starts out today. She's our second custodial person. So we're very happy and excited to have her on board. And we provide, just for a little bit of background, but the district does provide janitorial and custodial services to all of our public spaces. So we're doing that in-house now. So we're very, very glad to have Ms. Huerta on board. The last couple of weeks, our facility team has completed annual maintenance of over 8 miles of the perimeter roads serving the propulsion area. So we've addressed just about every surface out there. Their facility team put in a lot of hours, came in on a Saturday, put in a lot of hours. So very grateful for them, and they're finishing that up today. It should be the last day on that. We are in the process of doing our annual maintenance and repair on our diesel pumps in preparation for our annual testing, which will happen in December. So those contracts are out right now with our vendors, and we'll be working on that, coordinating that with the tenants in the next couple of weeks. We've done all of the quarterly fire suppression inspections on all the district-owned buildings without any discrepancies. Mailboxes are complete and installed. We've got a work order open with U.S. Postal Service. Postal Service has to install their locks, and once they do that, then we'll be able to assign keys and commence service on the mailboxes. We've installed 11 lights in the general aviation area, with another 14 to be installed in the next month. So we've completed the effort on the east hangars, and we'll begin working in the next week or two on the hangars on the west. And Alma Del Rio is in the process of renewing our annual herbicide applicator license. We're going to be doing employee training so that we can go ahead and do weed abatements on the airfield line side. Continue irrigation repairs on Airport Boulevard, over on Finnan Street, as well as an area or some repairs over behind 84 to 87. Those are ongoing. We've ordered a new set of shades for the air traffic control cab, tinted shades. Those should be in the next 4 to 6 weeks. And we continue to work on improvements in the tower and around the airport with IT to improve our access control systems. So we're upgrading our gate access and then all of the tower control, and just ongoing trash cleanup and day-to-day business. So that's all I have.
Thank you, Floyd. Was there any questions from the directors?
Quick question. The mailboxes in the hangar area, is there one assigned for each hangar, or how does that work?
There will be one assigned for each hangar.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Floyd.
Floyd's been very busy. And Mr. Chair, I forgot to show a couple pictures, if I may.
Sure, please.
Floyd's been very busy. Thank you, Floyd. Screen share, I want to... Let's see. Man.
We're still learning the curve here on our new
Presenting and driving here.
presentation here.
Almost there.
I know.
We have to learn this either way because we had to show some other slides.
Is that the pictures that are printed in the agenda?
Yes.
Yes, Mr. Deaver.
Okay.
Here on my screen.
It should be right here, just like I showed you.
It's plugged in. There we go. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Lynn. Save the day. All right, just a couple quick pictures here. We had some hydroseeding performed at the airport. And just wanted to show you the pictures. This was done over a period of a day and a half. Once we get rains, you'll see.
Are these native weeds or a new imported weed?
These are native weeds.
We seem to have no shortage.
So I know it's enthralling, but anyway, I want to show this to you. It should cut down on the dust, obviously, so you can see that there.
That's great. Yeah, that would be nice.
So can you actually explain a little bit about this seeding?
Sure. So the hydroseeding is not unlike highways that do the hydroseeding on the sides. And once, basically, these are germinated seeds that will, once they receive rainfall, precipitation, they'll start to then grow. And so it's not going to be overnight, but it does take some time.
And you understand that you're out here in the desert where rainfall is.
Yes. Yep. And we looked into that too because rainfall is scarce. We did check with the vendor, and those are drought tolerant native weeds.
I will be impressed if I see some growth.
Yep. Yep.
What areas?
Thank you.
Sorry, what locations?
Parallel to Taxiway Charlie.
My plan would be that the seedlings will grow away before the rain happens. they won't take root without a initial watering.
Mhm.
Maybe the watering that they get when they're deployed is enough.
They were watered when they're.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So they've had one water.
They do this in other areas. They've done this at Victorville and other dry areas too. So it's not going to be like a bed of roses, but
Legendary.
We'll see.
yeah.
We measure the wind by what size gravel is moving.
Right.
Floyd has a comment?
We applied the same process on the perimeter road after that project was complete. And even though it was an arid time of year, once we got some water on it, it took very well.
And served the purpose. It did.
Yeah, it controls so any of the areas that are disturbed, and that was because of areas that were disturbed in the Charlie project, it controls the dust and the erosion.
Great. It's going to be an interesting test.
Just reporting out, sir. Tough crowd here. Okay, that's it for my report. Thanks.
All right.
Is it possible we can move the camera back to the board?
Yes.
Thank you.
Oh, you wanted it now? There we go.
No criticism implied, just wisdom, just shared wisdom.
Shared wisdom.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's the curve.
People have denied the veracity of the Mojave River before and regretted it.
Well, as a native, I am skeptical, but
just reporting out, sir.
all right. He's off. All right. CEO, General Manager's report.
Chair, members of the board, thank you very much. And I saw my first rain last Sunday since I've lived here. I saw my first rain last Sunday. That was awesome. Could not believe it. Actually, very impressive. Just smell of rain. Concentric Power. We continue to work with Concentric Power. The circle kind of identifies that approximately 27 acres are looking at leasing from us to provide solar power to Mojave. Matt and I spent some time, significant amount of time last Tuesday in a meeting with the folks from Concentric Power, learning more about microgrids and megawatts and how much acreage is required to generate so many megawatts, so on and so forth. Very interesting. I think it's going to be a very successful project as we move forward, and those conversations are continuing. Next slide. So we're also, if you remember this, we're still working toward generating or getting general aviation hangars in exchange for leasing some property to the folks at ClearSun Solar Power. ClearSun Solar is going to lease that 10 acres to provide all the about 15% of all the power that's generated by that area will be used to generate power for the general aviation area. That I think that would be huge for everyone involved. Ms. Lynn Johansson has prepared the release documents and is preparing to send them to them if she has one already. And I think we're going to put together one exhibit to show the area for the hangars that's going to be involved with that part of the lease. We'll be getting that out within the next day or so. Next slide, please. Next slide, please.
Sorry about
that. As many of you know, we're also in the process of going through the process of generating some premature, if you will, or preliminary environmental analysis for the Perimeter Road project. The Economic Development Association, before they wanted us to perform some preliminary environmental work in order to give us this grant. In so many cases previously, they've tried to award a grant to organizations and haven't been able to they haven't been able to do the project because of environmental issues. So as a result of that, one of the things that's come out is there's a letter that was sent to the folks at Mojave in February 2018 that describes some issues with a landfill located in the northwestern corner of the airfield. We're looking into this right now. They recommended in 2018 that some surface and subsurface evaluations be conducted to confirm there are no toxic materials in the area. So we're looking further into this right now to make sure we identify the right location. Once we do that, we will address the issue as necessary. Next slide. As some of you probably heard or received the email I sent out late last week, we received notification from the folks at FAA and Representative McCarthy's office indicating that we have been awarded $5.968 million for the rehabilitation of runway 1230. That will address approximately 44% of the overall project. The distribution of the funds, the phasing, and schedule are still yet to be known. I've not received that information from FAA yet. I've made a couple phone calls, but I've run into a lot of dead ends. The one issue that we're trying to identify is how we're going to mitigate the operational impacts resulting from this project. The orange area that's highlighted there indicates the area that needs rehabilitation worse than any other part of the runway. In the event that we find that this is the only money we're going to get for this project, that would be the area that we would address. We're working with the engineering firm. We're working with the construction contractor and FAA to determine what's the probability of us doing this 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. That'd be the way we'd go about it. It would require about 25 to 26 days to do the entire project, and then move on from there. Like I said, there's more questions right now for FAA that we're still trying to find answers to before we can make any really hard decisions on the phasing and schedule of the project. Tomorrow we're having an aerospace and industrial tenant lunch like we had previously. The purpose of this lunch will be twofold. Number one, to discuss the runway 1230 project, and also to discuss the concentric power agreement and get some feedback from our tenants as to what their needs are as it relates to electricity and power and things of that nature. Next slide, please. Madison Aerospace Systems completed a flight test on September 29th. It was very successful. They plan on doing another test on October 14th. Distribution of funds, as a typo on my part. Corporate housing. One of the things I've heard a lot since being here is the need for short-term housing on site for our tenants and for their folks that are coming in and out on a consistent basis. We're currently working with a gentleman named Mr. Alvin McCurdy and his company to develop a concept that will address housing. We're looking at pet care, daycare, food facilities, and things of that nature. I know the daycare issue is something that is going to be difficult because of our location, and I don't know the daycare will be able to provide daycare on site. So more to follow on that. But Mr. McCurdy is looking at leasing a plot of land. We haven't discussed exact locations. We've looked at a couple different ones, and right now the ball is pretty much in our court as far as how far we want to drive this to allow him to develop the facilities here on site. This is a project that is not going to cost us anything out of our pocket. He'll be doing a ground lease, and he'll be developing the property himself according to our standards as we wish and as the board deems needed going forward. Mojave Air Races 2022, working with Jeff Zaltman. We've been provided a copy of a contract from them. The hosting fee is $150,000. I have provided a copy of that contract to Mr. Nave. Mr. Nave has responded with a list of several comments that need to be addressed before we move any further with that contract. So it's going to require a lot of coordination with Mr. Zaltman and determining what the answers are to these questions. Next slide. GA Cookout was on September 30th. I thought was rather successful. It was I think everyone had a pretty good time. Got a lot of good comments from this meeting, and this is why we do it. A couple in particular, the need for flagpoles in the front of our administration building, as well as a facility where waste oil containment can be provided in the general aviation area, and of course pavement improvements. We're going to hear more about that here in a little bit. Fuel quality assurance, quality control. Been doing quite a bit of that here lately. I've been working a lot with Harold Smith, confirming that our Millipore tests and the quality of the fuel coming out of the trucks meets the standards necessary to meet the government guidelines, because we have a government contract. The fuel looks very good. The one thing I will say is our fuel farm is going to need some attention in the next couple of years. That's all I will say for now. It's going to require additional evaluation, but it does have some shortcomings. General aviation improvements, lighting, mailboxes, and pavement are the three primary ones we're looking at right now. Next slide. Question came up last week, last board meeting. We're going to the specifics relative to the lights. The lights, 34 watt bulbs, 5,116 lumens, have a lifespan of 100,000 hours each. Going to the next slide. This is the location. The red boxes are where the lights are currently going to go, and we've already started putting them in. One of the things that you will notice, go ahead and go to the next. Oh, I'm sorry. My fault. Never mind. So I had a picture in there of the lights as they're on. It's a really good picture. Sorry, didn't make the cut. But the one of the things that came up last board meeting, we want to make sure they weren't blind anyone. I can assure you the lights are not blinding lights.
They're pretty bright. The row that's facing the hangars that are going to get demolished.
Yes.
Yeah.
Are you saying
that's not a criticism.
No, we might need some.
I was like, wow.
Well, the other night after the barbecue, I thought about the same thing and the same thing you're talking about, because shining on the taxiway like that, I think we might need some
shield.
I was going to say lenses, shields to shield the lighting. That's something that we'll probably implement as we go forward.
Yeah. Also, someone landing on runway 8 or something. Once those hangars are gone, they're going to be projecting out.
Right.
Towards, they're going to be point lights kind of.
Yes, sir. I agree.
Keep them pointed down, I guess, or something.
On the mailboxes, one of the things you might notice is the mailboxes are no longer in this configuration. They have been rotated 180 degrees. The reason being is because the post office brought to our attention the danger associated with people trying to get their mail and the possibility, the potential of falling off of this platform. If they fall off this platform in this configuration, they're going to fall directly into the path of oncoming traffic. So the postal delivery person did not feel safe doing that in that configuration as well. So the boxes have been rotated 180 degrees. The next steps for us is to devise a method of getting the keys out to everyone, and then also one of the things we want to do is put a hanger number on each one of the boxes to identify the boxes. It may not be a bad idea as well. Something I was thinking about, and this may have been brought up. Maybe somebody said this. I can't remember. But one of the things you might want to do as well is put the corresponding box number on the corresponding general aviation hanger to so it all lines up. If somebody is bringing something in, or a package or a delivery or something.
A quick point to that.
Yes, sir.
Like each hangar has an address, like Roper Street and everything like that. But just seeing a hangar number, how's the post office going to know the address that people send mail to? You know what I mean? Don't you think it should have an address on it?
Yeah, on the box?
Yeah.
Yes, I'm sorry. That's what I meant.
All right.
But along with that address,
yeah,
have the hanger number with the address.
That's right.
Sorry, misspoke.
Yeah.
Yes. Next slide, please.
Comment on locating them.
Yes, sir.
A lot less dirt inside of them.
That was an interesting factor. Because in a couple of weeks that they sat out there.
Yeah.
And if you look on the left side of those are sealed off. They're closed completely. That's not where the post office gates access. There was an inch of dirt in them.
I believe it.
So,
You've got the pavement.
one
Slides.
Thank you. One issue might be accessing them at night, though. There's the way it was facing, there's lights and cameras. Maybe a solar lighter, just a little, like or something. Maybe we don't
Yes.
need it. I don't.
No, I think you're
Depends on
right.
where light pollution comes in.
I didn't think about it from a solar standpoint, but I was thinking about it from the standpoint of having light over the top that hangs, that shines down in front of them. Not a fluorescent light, but that shape, if you will, where people can see what they're doing.
Well, even the ones you pound in the side of the sidewalk, solar lights, it just doesn't need to be a lot, just so you can find your number.
Right. Yes, sir.
We will talk more about it, we can, but we have an inventory and one of the solar street lights, so it's on Airport Boulevard. Maybe possible to put one of those over that.
Oh, yeah. Definitely. Actually, that wraps it up for my part of the report. We're going to go into another piece here. The folks at Meet and Hunt are here to provide a presentation regarding the general aviation pavement. We've got the design here. It's 35% design. It has a lot of.
Can I stop you for 1 minute?
Yes, sir.
Regarding the air races, did you kind of want to get any sort of feedback or just general consensus with the board as far as, you guys want to pursue this and there's a lot to it, or
that's a really good
we
point.
don't want to, we're done, we don't want it?
Thank you, Jamie.
I did want to ask that.
Go ahead.
Well, go ahead.
So question was, the 150K, what is that?
Hosting fee.
Hosting fee.
What's
So
that mean?
with $150,000, they come in and they bring, it's like a race in a box type thing. They come in and they set up and they conduct the race.
So we pay $150,000 for them to, that.
Right. And then we will get all the revenues from concessions, sponsorships, things of that nature. Or we can use sponsorships to offset the hosting fees.
And is there branding and things like that?
Yes, sir.
Cooperative, all that kind of stuff. So,
yes, sir.
Like it's going to have Mojave Airport or Spaceport or whatever,
right,
in the title, et cetera, not just a private organization. Okay.
And it's going to be televised as well.
Right. And do you require? Is there additional expenses you're going to require board approval to go forward with?
What I'd like to do now, this isn't an action item, was just to kind of give him, hey, and I think it's going to be, pursue it. I think he just wants some clarity on direction. There's a lot of details that aren't known.
Do you not normally ask for comments from the board about his presentation?
I just don't want to get into too many.
I'm not asking too many details. I'm just asking whether it requires approval from us.
It will.
Based on what is planned. Okay.
It will.
And then, so my other question is, can we get a copy of the questions that Scott has with the contract?
By all means.
Scott, did you hear that? Could you forward that to us, what your concerns are or questions?
I can, if the board members wouldn't mind keeping that confidential, because we are still in contract negotiations and there are a number of legal issues associated with this contract. So I will send it to you all confidentially, and if you would just please keep it that way.
Yeah, of course. Thanks.
And Mr. Coleman is totally up for a race like this. And was it going to be the Northeast Beyond 3-0? Or was the proposed track?
Yes.
They were saying, right?
They would race around the bungalow,
Okay.
basically.
Yeah. I think you ought to add some aerobatic acts into the racing too. I know some people that would love to fly there for like nothing. So
I think that can be arranged.
Okay, so that was my question. It's not an action item, so we can't get into too many details, but the more or less is, and I think we're all in favor, I am, okay, pursue it and then come back and report. Clear enough for you?
Yeah. I worked on a side project when I was at scale to develop an electric race plan. So
okay,
enthusiast here.
That's the reason that they would like to conduct a race here in 2022 is because they want to have some type of experience, some types of foundation of knowledge, which to build upon, because we're wanting to come back in 23 and do electric aircraft race. And so this is kind of the foundation is what we're developing right now. And, you know, one of the things I've learned is that we can team up with other organizations in the community, whether it be the Chamber of Commerce, the Lions Club, the Rotary Club, that will help with things such as parking, crowd control. All those aspects are facets of this that's going to require additional people, because you know we can't control 10,000 people with 12 personnel. So you know we're going to be working with them as well. Right now we're still in the due diligence part of this. Had conversations with the insurance companies. That was my biggest concern, and the insurance is very through our insurance company is very doable for an event like this, and very reasonable. It covers everything except the flight crews and their aircraft, and it will not cover any demo car that a flight crew might receive to use from a dealership. It would not cover that or anything that would happen to their car. But everything else would be covered. So, like I said, we're in the due diligence phase of this right now, trying to move forward. And we'll make sure everybody was on board with doing that.
And I think that's the consensus.
We have a pretty good template from the Spaceship One flights. We had a real good organization set up, and all the local organizations made a lot of money and had a good time, and that's something that I'd be happy to sit down and talk to you about that. Kathy was involved in it also.
Yeah, that actually worked out quite well. So.
Very good.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Deaver. Other things, so as far as leases go, UPS just amended their lease to add an additional 53,000 square feet of land. This was added to the 2018 5-year lease. In the Lee, Building 88, they're going month to month. It'll be month to month. Access license was issued to Straddle Launch to use the ball field. I will say I really appreciate Floyd doing some analysis down in the ball field. He has determined that a lot of the issues on the ball field, as far as the grass go, are a result of some oversaturation and a modification in the pH balance is going to be necessary. So we're looking into that as well. If there's no other questions, Mead & Hunt is in the process of completing the design for the general aviation pavement project. We have the 35% plans. If you gentlemen can share that down there. And if you don't mind moving over here, you can share with you can share.
Here, Todd, just swap me.
Oh, there we go.
I'd like to bring on Mr. Chuck Mccormick. Mr. Chuck McCormick is a project manager, a program manager for Mead & Hunt, for Mojave and Spaceport. Chuck has been a great resource for myself coming in here, and been very helpful. Chuck, take it away.
Okay, thank you, Todd. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, so thank you again. Thank you, Todd. My name again, Chuck McCormick with Mead & Hunt. I'm a senior project manager, and wanted to share with you the status of the update for the design for the general aviation apron reconstruction project. So this is just a slide showing the overall area of the improvement project. Basically this project is going to rehabilitate the pavements and also improve the storm drainage in this area to prevent further pavement damage in the area due to water. But with me, what I'm going to do is we've got about 6 or 7 slides kind of go into some project details. And with me, I have Rafael Gonzalez. He's our lead civil design engineer and leading the design group for this project. So Rafael, if you can take it through these slides, and then we can answer any questions you might have at the end of the slides. So Rafael?
Thank you, Chuck. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good afternoon, board members, airport staff, and general public. Like Chuck was saying, my name is Rafael Gonzalez. I'm the design lead for this project for the Mojave Air and Spaceport. Basically, as you can see on the screen, the red dotted line represents the limits of the improvements to be taking place. Part of the improvements are going to be, of course, pavement, resolving drainage problems with water getting into some of the buildings. And that's pretty much it. Yeah, that's what we're doing here. Next slide, please. So a little bit of the background on this area of the airport. The hangars, they were built, I believe, in the early 80s, at different times, of course, and they started growing. And the last time the pavement was rehabilitated, per the records that we have received, it was back in the year 2009, when the whole area basically was repaved, and they built those gutters in the middle of the taxi lanes. And you can see some of the photos of the general area. I'm pretty sure you're familiar with the pavement conditions out there. Next slide, please. So some of the problems that currently this area is presenting, the biggest one probably is going to be cracking. You can see on the photos, there is significant cracking throughout the area. It's what we call block cracking. Usually they have these areas where they have a big fluctuation of temperatures, and there has different cycles of temperature where the pavement expands and contracts. So it creates like block cracking, basically big blocks of pavement crack. And that's basically the problem that you see throughout the pavements out there. And like you can see the photo in the middle bottom, there's a pencil right there. So that crack is roughly 6 to 7 inches wide. And you can also see how the maintenance crews, they've been doing the best they can to keep that pavement usable. But it's getting basically to a point where it's just putting a Band-Aid on something that needs something more significant, a more significant solution. And this is just some of the photos that I picked for you to demonstrate what kind of problems the pavement is exposing right now. Next, please. And please, if you have any questions, feel free to stop me, and I'll be more than happy to answer any questions you may have. Another problem area, the southern easternmost taxi lane is presenting a specific problem where the pavement is swelling. As you can see on the photos, the pavement is being milled to keep it level, but it keeps swelling. So we did some geotech exploration in this area, and the subsoil seems to be some kind of expansive clay. When it's exposed to water, basically expands. So that's pumping the pavement, and basically is creating like a bulge effect on the finished surface of the pavement. And actually, it's also creating problems with the existing hangars on the north side of that taxi lane, the southeasternmost taxi lane in the area. And you can see the photo in the middle bottom. You can see the concrete is cracked, and it's kind of basically pumped up, and the door for that specific hangar is actually dragging. It's actually in contact with the concrete, and it's because of the expansion of the soil underneath the concrete slab. Next, please. Another area that we're going to be targeting during this project is we spoke with airport staff, and there's some hangars that have water getting into them. So we're going to be, part of this project is to solve that situation. The main problem areas is basically in between the hangars, as you can see in the photos. So we will be taking care of that by regrading those areas, making them drain. And we're going to be capturing the water using different methods that I'll explain in a couple slides as well. Next slide, please. So how are we going to be fixing the pavement out there? Basically, we're going to do an approach pretty similar to what we did on Taxiway Charlie, which is the project that just got finished, and I'm pretty sure you've seen the end results. We're going to be basically milling and removing the existing asphalt layer. We're going to be fixing all the cracks, and we're going to be basically placing brand new asphalt on top of it. Before we do that, we're going to be basically recompacting the underground soil. And in some areas, actually in that taxi lane that has the swelling problem, we're going to do a little bit of over excavation to get rid of that bad soil, replace it with good soil and compact it per standards. By the way, we're going to be following FAA standards. So the project can be eligible for FAA funding. And speaking about funding, this project right now is scheduled for the year 2024 under the current ASIP. So to fix the pavement, basically we're going to be doing the same approach we did Taxiway Charlie, with basically replacing the existing asphalt layer. And for that specific taxi lane with the swelling problem, we're going to be doing excavation and putting brand new base and brand new asphalt concrete as well. Next slide, please. Now, to solve the drainage problem, especially between the hangars, we noticed that most of the hangars, they don't have gutters. So the first thing that we will do is to capture that water before it free falls onto the ground and start causing like erosion problems. So we're going to be installing gutters, downspouts, and also to collect all the runoff, we're going to be installing a storm drain system. Probably it's not going to be as significant as the one you see on the upper right photo there. It's going to be something maybe smaller than that. And basically the way that works is it's going to be collecting all the water with a series of inlets, and it's going to be conveyed using those black pipes and routing everything to the yellow underground vaults. Basically, those yellow vaults, they're bottomless, and they're going to be infiltrating that water into the subsoil. And that would solve the problem with the accumulation of water behind the hangars and water getting into those hangars, along with regrading those areas in the back of the hangars. That way we solve that situation. And we submitted with the 35% submittal a preliminary cost estimate. Right now, the cost estimate is telling us the whole project is going to be roughly $1.9 million. And the time frame, like I said, this is scheduled for the year 2024 in the ASIP. And construction, we think, is going to be approximately 4 months. Now, we are planning to do construction. We're not going to close the whole thing at once. We're going to be basically splitting it into 4 areas. Each area is going to take roughly 1 month to be completed. So we might need to do some coordination with the tenants in those specific hangars impacted by the phasing of the construction, and maybe place the aircraft on the open apron if need be, so they can use their aircraft if need be during the construction. So that's some coordination that we have to do with the airport staff to mitigate that issue. Additionally, I spoke about timing, AIP funding, eligibility for FAA, and I believe that's all I have. Did I miss anything else, Chuck?
No, I think that captured it, unless we have any questions that we can address.
Curious about the infiltration system. Where would that be physically located?
That will be physically located basically in the back of the hangars. Basically, if you go 2 slides back, and that area, the dirt area, what we will do is we're going to regrading, excavating. This thing is going to be probably like 3 feet deep. We're going to be providing a little channel system to convey the water into inlets, and the inlets will transport everything underground into the underground chamber and infiltrate it into the underground.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions from the directors? I think we're good.
Okay. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good job. Thank you, Joe.
Thank you, guys.
They adjusted that chair. It's too short.
Big boy. All right. Is that the on your report?
Yes, sir. That concludes the report.
All right. Anyone have any questions regarding CEO's report? All right. Next is, was there someone out there? Next we have Board of Directors comments. Any comments from the directors? I had one. It's just an observation. I was leaving the airport the other night on Bellshop Boulevard, and there's really no lighting on it. But we needed to find the center of the road. The painting is pretty well worn off. And I think it creates a little bit of a hazard. Just an observation.
Very good.
On Bellshop. I also noticed the ball field's looking good. All the trees are looking good, except that I noticed the ones behind I'll call it the park as you come in on Bellshop, look like they haven't been given any attention.
I'll take a look.
We've been working on the water there, but it's pretty sad shape. So focus more attention. We did make sure the water is getting to them.
Yeah, those were the ones that were transplanted from the hangar area, so they were stressed to begin with. But I'm just making observations. And,
Right.
Anyway, that's all I have.
Quick point out Inyo entrance to the airport where the railroad tracks cross.
Yes, sir.
Is a hazard because of the pavement's all chunked out. You know, like someone riding a bicycle would just wreck on that, I suspect. And cars, I mean, it's big enough that it could probably like flat a tire or something.
You brought that up in the past too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's an ongoing issue.
Even a quick fix might be worth doing this because of the hazard.
Address that?
Thank you.
All right, are there any other comments? Diane? No? None being, we'll move on. Public comments, items not on the agenda. Members of the public may make comments to the board on items not on the agenda. Is there any public comments out there?
Hi, everybody. It's Marissa from Mojave Fitness.
Marissa.
I think this may be my last opportunity here to promote this. So we are going to be running the Run the Runway 5K on November 6th at 8:30 a.m. We will be running a bigger portion of the runway this time. And we would love for more participation. We have, I believe, over 30 registered right now. We have a Facebook ad running and is live right now that's also helping with membership, which is great. We do have a lot of sponsors, including Mojave Airport, Straddle Launch, Bravery Brewing, which is a brewery and pizza place in Lancaster, Carl's Hardware, Castro Towing, and then Patty Gardner and Michelle Slade. We also do have some vendors coming to the event, massage therapist, Tehachapi businesses, Space Flow Yoga, and Jiu-Jitsu. So the registration is live, and you can find that either on our Facebook page or on active.com, or you can feel free to reach out to us if you need the link. And it is day of registration does go up, so just make sure that you do pre-register. It's $35 right now. Kids 12 to 17 is $10, and then anybody under 12 is free. And we are doing T-shirts this year for the first 100 participants. So that hopefully we'll get a great outcome. It looks like we're already about a third of what our participation was last year. So it's looking pretty good so far. So if you guys can help spread the word, we really appreciate it.
Very good. Thank you.
Do we have a Facebook page the airport does, I believe? Mm-hmm. Are we promoting this on it? I'd like to share it. And I look at it and I tend to
make sure that we are.
Nicole has shared our flyer on the Mojave Airport Facebook page if you guys would like to find it there.
I'd like to just share it too. I'll take a look.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Is the organization affiliated at all with the Mojave Marathon?
No, it is not.
Okay.
We have one of our previous members has generously let us borrow a lot of the Mojave Marathon signage and things like that, but they're not physically, associated with it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Marissa.
A question for you. So during the event, sorry, I haven't attended one of these in the past, is the rest of the airport open, other runways, i.e. could this be a fly-in event?
I'm able to answer that.
Yeah, fly in and run.
Exactly. So people are starved for I would fly in and do anything that isn't eat pancakes. So if I can pitch this to local pilots, and that also gives you a much wider radius.
Eat pancakes and
We
run.
want the pancakes.
Oh.
I heard Bravery Brewing, so I think we would do better pancakes.
Well, you technically to run on back, so yes.
Yeah, so
That's interesting. That's a good idea.
yeah, that would, because I could much more easily promote that. So if we could get some assurances that whatever NOTAM would go out, the airport would still be open. Of
course.
Then, and figure out, if I can answer questions on, hey, if you park in public parking, how can we get you to the starting point?
Yeah.
Then that might attract folk.
Marissa, did you hear that?
I did. Diane, we need to chat more. That sounds great. I love that idea.
All right, well, I'll quit slacking and actually get back to the gym.
Yes, for sure.
All right. Thank you. Were there any other public comments? All right. Thank you, everyone, for attending. We're going to move into closed session. If you would like to remain in the waiting room, we will come back into open session and you'll be allowed back in, and you'll hear a report out of any action on closed session items. Thank you.